Something wrong, Charlie?
Apart from me losing my mind, no, everything's just peachy.
Charlie, what are you doing?
Doing what I have to do.
Stop!
With the ocean in the background, fire and water, the poetry.
The baby's in danger. Look, I've been having these dreams, all right? I know what they mean.
Save the baby, Sean. The baby is in danger. You have to save the baby, Sean.
The goal is always the same on Lost, which is kind of what's it about, you know? What's the theme that we're trying to push? And most importantly, like, why are we doing this flashback story when we're doing it? What is the relationship between this moment in somebody's life prior to the crash?
First and foremost, it's, you know, whose episode it is, which character. This one's Charlie's, and you want to say, well, how are we furthering his character? What are we showing about him through the flashback?
Internally, he's like, I've got to save this baby, I've got to do it. And then when I do it, she'll see that I saved the baby, like that first time I did it, and then she'll love me.
So what we're saying is, but these dreams that the baby's in danger, then are we saying they symbolize that his family's in danger? Is that what we're saying? Or are we saying, like, or does he truly believe it's in danger? That's the question we have to answer.
But Charlie is now in his own world. She'll see. She'll see. You know, something like that.
You know, it's like we all kind of have this preconceived notion of what we want the episode to be, but as we get in the room, new ideas come together, and then all of a sudden it kind of takes on a life of its own.
Damon and Carlton will assign, you know, one of the writers or a team, like in our case, to write that episode. But really, the process of coming up with the story and breaking the story happens as a group.
These guys were pitching this idea that either the piano is given to both brothers when they're kids, or it's given to Charlie and Liam gets like socks, so that there's this sort of resentment set up between them, so that Charlie comes home at the end of the story and the piano's gone, and Liam basically says, I sold the piano, so Karen, you know, I'm doing this for my own family, Charlie. Right. And Charlie's basically saying, what about my family? So you're mirroring that increases his desperation on the island side of things, where he wants to baptize the baby, and Claire's saying, you can't do that, and he's like, this is my family too, and everybody's looking at him like he's insane. It's a redemption story for Charlie. He believes that by baptizing this baby, he is now stepping up and, you know... Well,
he's saving his family, and he's doing what he couldn't do in the
And
past.
you'll understand, it'll inform the entire A story, you know, the island story, why he's so desperate and crazy. You'll feel for him.
I don't think it advances his relationship with Claire, though. I mean, that part I don't think...
I think that's done for a while.
Yeah. You know, 212 was kind of a pivotal sort of mid-season episode where we were basically trying to sort of make some big sort of story turns in the season. One was we wanted to throw a wrench in the Claire-Charlie relationship story. You know, all good movie love stories are basically boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl back. You know, with Locke's relationship with Claire sort of becoming more, you know, kind of becoming stronger and stronger over time. You know, that'll be great kind of going into the next run of episodes.
Poor Charlie.
Poor Charlie, man. He never finishes Shoulders of Destiny.
No, and he'll, you know, and Dom will love it because it's nice and dark. And
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
When the script comes in, and the various stages of the script, since we get an outline, we'll have a writer's draft, we'll have a network draft, production draft, but as soon as those scripts come in, we start our pre-production steps, which is usually like 8 days before an episode starts, and we make sure to distribute all that to the department heads.
In advance, I know what the story is going to be, and the broad strokes of the story, and whose story it's going to be, and whether I'm directing the episode or not.
We know when we're going to do an episode about probably 5 or 6 days before the script turns up. You know, we're working all the time, and then Damon will tend to call me and say, hey, the next episode's a Charlie episode, and this is where we're at. This is what's going to happen. You know, you get the opportunity to take a break and watch someone else work, but then when it's your episode, it's your episode.
Part of the trick of the episode is for the audience in present time on the island to not believe or not be sure. Half the room should think that Charlie is telling the truth, and he is not using, and the other half should believe that he is using. Because we're never going to get to the moth version, the train spotting version of Charlie with the dark circles and sweating and the shakes. He was really on the edge.
Basically what happens is during prep, we break down the script, go out with the location manager, the director, the production designer, and the director of photography, find the locations that best suit the scenes that occur in the episode. That way everybody kind of has an idea, you know, having seen it in your mind's eye when you read the script, it helps to stand on the actual place where it's going to be filmed. Basically, guys, we're going to take this area, we're going to use those boulders to shore up the area between the trees. This is where Charlie gathers the leaves and the kindling and the branches and starts our fire. We have 6 days of Police Beach on my schedule, so that's a pretty significant amount at that location. Then we come into town and we've got some flashback stuff. Charlie's flat in a flashback. It's kind of a loft that we're going to turn into his apartment.
The director, Jack Bender, wanted a loft kind of feeling downtown. So our location managers set out to come up with some notions on that idea, and settling on a 4th floor old brewery. This is a blank floor space. It had great windows, red brick. That's the kind of place we like to find because we can just walk right in and make it what we need to.
We're going to close it off from the elevator, right, and bring a wall along here. We're going to make the wall look like painted brick. There's a living area, a small kitchen area, and the piano. That's it. Exterior of Charlie's flat. We're going to have a mural painted up here, which is going to be some kind of a poster, an old poster for some kind of ale. So I think that let's not make this the pub, let's make that the pub and lose the antique store. So we have a pub next to a tube station, and that's it.
This is all our signage right here that we're doing for the London Street. 212 comes in, the art department comes in, they give us all the information from the dimensions to the carpenters and what the sets are going to be built, and then they come to us and we go over the colors and all the aging and stuff that's going to be in the process of painting the sets. This is one of our paintings that we're doing for the London Street. This is some blank stock wallpaper underneath the painting, and we're going to rip it down to make it look like it's real aged. There'll be crackling paint on this green up here, and it'll start coming off, and hopefully it'll come out okay.
We had Charlie's loft, and we had sort of the mean streets of Charlie's alley and outside his loft. All of these places have to be selected, permits gotten. At the same time, the director's having meetings with the wardrobe department. What are they wearing? What gives the feel and the flavor of where this character is?
It's one of the classier outfits on Lost. Good morning.
First thing when I get the script, to read it obviously and break it down, see how many people are in the script. The interesting thing starting off in this episode is that it's Manchester, England in the 80s. You know, modern pajamas that they make today are just sort of not right in feeling. So, you know, we ended up making them. We ended up finding some great fabric and making the pajamas for, you know, young Charlie and then older Charlie, you know. It was great.
We set about looking for someplace that could be in Manchester, England, and being in Honolulu, the choices are few and none, but there are a few, so we managed to come up with a place called the Guild Inn, which lends itself very well to the architecture style.
And we used this same location for the Claire episode when she visited. This is where the psychic lived, but it looked very different, and there are not many homes in Hawaii that have an English feel. And this one has a very bed and breakfast-y, old wallpaper, homey feeling with the right staircase and all the things that I wanted for the scene.
Yes, it's going to be Christmas morning here. We have snow outside the windows. It's the coolest day in England.
It's here, man. Christmas is here.
You don't have to drop the H, because dropping the H is more like a London thing. You know, little London kids would go, "It's here, Liam. Christmas is here." I'd say, "It's here, Liam. Christmas is here."
Oh. It's here, Liam. Christmas is here.
The trick of the scene today is to lead the audience into believing it's a flashback, Christmas, warm, homey, that turns into a dream/nightmare.
He ain't saving no one, he is. Music. Music will never get you anywhere.
This is going to be in Dom's dreamscape. In his head, his father appears at Christmas in his butcher shop, chopping meat and dolls. It's a
reference to the Beatle album Yesterday and Today, which was originally them holding baby dolls in butcher's aprons with blood, but Capitol Records freaked out and wouldn't let the Fab Four do it. But we are doing homage to their initial instinct.
Little heavier, Jack? Little more. Okay, thank you, sir.
Get some on his arms, on his white shirt.
Oh, man.
I love this scene.
Dad? Do it, baby bro. Save us.
Save us, Charlie. Save us.
Day 3. The surreal scene of Charlie playing the piano on the beach, which transitions from him playing the piano in his dream in his family flat Christmas when he's younger. And we have very rough surf today. It makes it challenging but also really dramatic. So we're gonna have to be careful where we put the piano when it topples over. It's looking great.
This is a piano that we had in seawater. The carpenters built it from scratch. Special effects put foam in it so it would float. And we stained it and made it look good, like it's supposed to be a real piano, but it is not. So we matched it to the other piano.
And the piano's going away! Let it go.
Obviously it's high surf. This is a heavy surge time of year, December, January. You know, we've got the best water safety guys on the planet basically to help us make sure that we do the right thing with the actor being in the water.
In this shot, or in this sequence I should say, Charlie, my character, thinks that Aaron and Cradle have been washed out into the ocean. He's in a kind of messed up state in his head, so he goes out to get the baby, or what he thinks is a baby. What's actually happening now is we've got our man Brian, our waterman, showing me the line that I'm going to be swimming because the waves are a little sketchy today. Charlie can't swim very well. Dominic Monaghan can swim like a fish, but Charlie can't, so trying to fake it the best that we can.
We start off at the other beach and Dom is sitting there playing his guitar. He looks off to a point of view we're now going to shoot. We'll get 2 cameras going, a couple of sizes. Wide, tighter, something floating out there. Hey. He gets up at the other beach. Hey. He walks toward the water.
The baby! Help!
We now pick him up here. He enters his point of view with those 2 cameras and he starts to swim out.
I just love being in the water, you know, it's such a great place to be. So after that, for the next couple of hours we spent in the water, kind of swimming over to Aaron and trying to position the cradle. And, you know, by the time we came out with the cradle, it was waterlogged. It must have weighed like 100 pounds.
We have 8 days in which to make a show, but they actually take 10 days to make. So on every show, we run 2 complete separate crews doubling up.
Action.
We're going to do a little effect on this show. Actually, our character Charlie gets a cut near his eye. And our task for the show is to actually show on-camera suturing. So I've made a little prosthetic. I have a partial face cast of Dominic from last year. Actually, last year he got a big open bleeding cut on his forehead. They put gunpowder in the cut, lit it on fire, and it burned the cut shut and sealed it up that way. But we're going to do a more conventional method with actual stitches this time. So, using the face cast that I had from Dominic, I made a small partial piece here, and this is the little prosthetic piece that I will then take and glue onto his face. This is a partial cheek piece that will allow you to see where the little cut's going to be. We'll dress it with some blood so we can actually on camera tie and suture the cut.
The day work's fairly simple. The night work, we're starting a big brush fire with a lot of kind of frenetic action of having that put out. So it should be fun. Good challenging day.
This shot echoes back to the first episode of the series after the pilot, where after Locke gets the dog back for Michael, cuts to Michael and Michael being the hero, the father bringing the dog back. Locke seems altruistic, he's doing a good thing, but the camera comes around Locke in the same way and says something is dark on the edge of his town. And that's what this shot says too, because we never know, nor should we, whether Locke is doing it for the good of the person he's trying to help or for his own selfish reasons. So we're doing the burning scene tonight where Charlie has set the fire. First we're going to start with some handheld shots of him doing something that we don't know what it is until he lights a Dharma match and starts the flame, licks the trees. When we come back, this whole area of the jungle is on fire, and our heroes, other than Charlie, Saeed, Locke, etc., have to come and put out the fire.
Fire! Fire! Grab tools! Containers for sand. Anything you have. If you don't stop it now, it'll burn right through the camp. Fire!
Flame bars. Flame bars are coming.
Ready!
Looks good, Noah.
Action! We need to cut the fire break right here. Over bucket line. Sorry.
All I honestly remember of that day was having to run into a blazing fire and getting singed, you know, and like sort of stuff being all over you, like in your hair, and like burning bits, you know, and it not being particularly pleasant. But you had to do it, you know.
Good. Walk away. Okay, we're good, I think. Yeah. All right. That's a good. Put it out.
Damn! That's a fire!
That's pretty good.
Okay, what I'd like to do is this, guys. I'd like to have Charlie come running, right? Maybe from here, and come running down at us, followed by Claire.
We're gonna hinge Dom and the baby down from base camp, panning kind of through the ocean with Emily following.
Baby! Stop it! Stop it!
Wait!
No, Charlie, stop! What are you doing? Stop it!
Charlie, come on, give him to me.
Who the hell are you, John? Aaron's not your responsibility. Where were you when he was born? Where were you when he was taken?
Got there that night. It was a very moody kind of night, dark, you know, late, rainy, cold. And Terry and I didn't really speak that much. We kind of circled around each other like kind of cats looking at each other's prey. And we choreographed it a couple of times and said how it was going to go. And then when we did the take, you know, he just he punched me as much as close as he could get without actually doing it. You know, it was big surf that night, so we were waiting for a good wave to come in, and you know, Paul Edwards is on his handheld camera, and he'd say, oh, okay, let's go, and you'd start to go, and he'd say, oh no, wait. Okay, let's go now, and you'd start to go, and he'd go, oh no, wait, you know, because he's trying to work out when a big wave's going to come in. And we managed to nail it a couple of times where a big wave just came and just smacked me and knocked me over.
No, I think when he came down on Charlie so hard, he was just angry and frustrated. And that didn't necessarily have to do with Charlie. I think Charlie was a target of opportunity, who Locke thought he had helped. Maybe he thought he had cured or something silly like that, but he was angry.
It's a trippy kind of night, but ultimately when I watched it, it was kind of rewarding.
I'm sorry.
Basically, we're in Charlie and Liam's flat. Probably used to be their kind of rehearsal hall, turned into their kind of hovel where they're staying. It's a charming set, and should be a good day. Day 9 of 8, euphemistically known as second unit, day 1.
Welcome to where Charlie lives. It's rock and roll. It's rock and roll, but not exactly the high times of rock and roll.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to do a scene where Charlie is writing a new song, and brother Liam comes home distressed. We're just about getting ready to roll, and what we do is we not only record all the words and the dialogue, but in this case we're going to play back all the music that they will be lip syncing to in this scene. So stand by.
I feel like this might be the one. All right, listen to this, okay?
drive shaft, having had been a one-hit wonder, was hanging on by their fingernails, and I guess their agent got them a job in a commercial. The initial idea was that we were going to do Abbey Road album, where the 4 band members are crossing Abbey Road, only in diapers. Well, we couldn't get permission to do that.
Ultimately, what we came up with, Jack first and foremost, was to put Charlie and the band in a playpen because they are wearing the diapers that they are pitching. And we thought, this is truly where the band has devolved to. They have become so degraded, and their drug usage has taken them so far down the road that they have essentially become children, and not just children, they've become infants again.
Everybody's going to have a diaper bag. Give everyone a bag, please. Okay. It couldn't be more humiliating than seeing Dom try to make it work. Seeing Neil screwing it up is exactly what we need in our other drive shaft fellows. Look at this. It doesn't get better than this.
All right, let's shoot this. The falling through the rails was actually Neil Hopkins, who's a funny guy, who, we're supposed to run up to the rails and advertise the diapers, or nappies, as they're called in England, and he just thought it would be funny to fall through the rails, which he did, and that was the take that they used. So it's good that they use the improvisational stuff of actors when it's good.
We're going to do one more where Liam just throws in the towel and falls on his ass laughing.
Cut.
I was asked about how far ahead we are in terms of shooting, because I know everybody hates it when we go to repeats and preamps. The bottom line is that we air a show every 7 calendar days. The problem is it takes us ideally 24 days to make a show. That is from the beginning of pre-production to the end when we deliver to the studio.
We start ahead, we start months before we air, but time kind of catches up with us, and eventually, in order for us to get back onto a schedule, we have to take a break from airing so we can catch back up.
They shoot in Hawaii, we then deal all of post, and the producers are based in LA, and we coordinate with production in Hawaii.
The film gets broken off on set at a certain time so that we can make the flight back to Los Angeles. So regardless of whether we're done filming or not for the day, generally around 7 in the evening-ish or so, they kind of break off film and box up and package up everything that we have and give it to a driver on set.
So I packed up the film. I'm going to take it over to that white van there. I'll give it to the Patty, who's the driver. She's going to take it to the airport.
And it goes air cargo nonstop to LAX.
We then pick up the film. I have a PA that picks up the film every morning.
Hi, my name's Caridius. I am a post-production assistant for Lost, and I am going to go pick up the film from LAX.
They then take the sound to our post house, which is in Hollywood, and then they take the film to CFI, and they develop the film.
After we put it in our computer and get it over to developing, then we usually check each roll, make sure for scratches and all that.
Then Complete Post picks up the film that evening to start transferring it, which is a process called telecine.
The film that I received from Hawaii, this is 35mm film. I thread it up, I put it on a spare telecine, and that projects it into my telecine room, which I then transfer to videotape.
Here we are at Complete Post. This is our post facility where all the film transfers go on every night. And this is where my first stop of the day is, bright and early. I come here and pick up the DV cams and bring them over to the assistant editors so they can digitize them and get them all set up for the editors to start cutting.
Episode 12 has been shot. I had a couple of days after the finish of photography to put an editor's version together. The director, Jack Bender, came in here for 4 days, and he and I worked together and got it to a director's cut, which is an intermediate version that is usually longer than the version that will air on television. The version that airs is 42 minutes and change, so we're talking, close to an hour. So part of Jack's and my mission is to get it down to time. Part of it is for him to see that I've used the performances that he kind of understood on the set were the best performances.
Mostly we only get about one really solid pass because of the heinous schedule in post and how fast it all has to go.
The director had, if I'm not mistaken, 4 days to work on the director's cut, and then I start working on the cut, and I usually work on it for 5 days, give or take. And then Damon comes in the last day or two and cleans it all up. We submit it to the studio network for their final notes, which we implement, and we lock the cut. So the whole editing process after director cut, where the producers do their final cut, is about a week.
There are visual effects issues. I know we had a lot of conversations about whether we should put halos, which were in the painting, and wings on Charlie's mother and Claire on the beach. And I felt that Roland did such a great job recreating the costumes that were in the painting on the staircase that maybe we didn't need the wings. So the wings were the first thing to go because they were a little cheesy.
Mom.
Claire?
In the scene when Charlie turns and discovers his mother and Claire as angels on the beach, we just thought that would be an opportune time to put in one of our Easter eggs. And if you actually watch the show on DVD or in Letterboxd, you could only see it when you were watching it in high def when it was broadcast, but you actually see the plane coming in the upper left-hand corner. The Nigerian drug runner's plane comes crashing in on the upper left-hand side of the frame.
When the show is completed being edited, the color needs to be adjusted on a shot-by-shot basis to compensate for the inconsistencies in production. Each episode takes me between 12 and 16 or even 20 hours to color correct. It really depends on the complexity of the look for a particular show. When I cool the frame off, which is how I describe adding blue to the frame in this case, Charlie's blue eyes stand out. So in this case, he benefits from a correction that's meant for the rest of the frame. When it came to us, it was like this, and now it's like this.
For post-wise, one thing that is complicated because they shoot in Hawaii, that makes it hard on our end, is we have a lot of location shots. And we do a lot of jungle and a lot of beach, which for sound is really difficult. We do a lot of ADR on this show.
ADR stands for automatic dialogue replacement. The term looping goes back to the old days when they used to make the loop in the film bigger to get synced just right. We obviously don't do that anymore. Nowadays everything's done on the computer, but the name is kind of stuck around. I'll first play for you the production of this scene here. That goes on for a while yet, but so the sound sometimes goes in and out depending on what they're shooting. But more importantly, you don't hear Dominic at all. And if they wanted to try to bring up Dominic, if he said something there, again, the waves would be way too loud. So we have him come in and he pretends he's swimming here. Tell me when you're ready. All right. Some more water to drown. Aaron! Am I ready to set up? Aaron! Too many urines gonna blow me out. I'm coming! I'm coming, Aaron! It's okay! It's okay! So that's another fine example where we add in the sound as, again, they're running through the jungle or things like that. And quite often we'll do 2-3 passes and they'll cut, copy, and paste between the 2-3 passes as far as things they want to use. You're not going to hear all that breathing on the final mix, but it's easier for them to take it away on the mix stage than to kind of add some more in later.
And then the sound people all take over, which they're smoothing out all the soundtracks, all the dialogue. Michael Giacchino, our composer, comes in and writes a brand new score. A week later, we're finishing the show, and it's a 3-day mix, and the show's locked. So the whole post-production process between editing and finishing an episode is like 2.5 weeks. And which is amazingly fast when you think of, like, with a feature film, they have 6 months to do, you know, a hour and a half, 2 hour movie, and we do a 40-minute episode every week in 2.5 weeks.
In the normal scheme of things in a TV show, the second season is easier. That's not Lost. Lost is sort of pushing the envelope all the time, as fast, as hard as we can do it.
We're trying on a daily basis to just tell good character stories, you know, and that's really the thing that ultimately we feel is our biggest obligation to the audience and the thing that engages the audience most in our show.
It sort of operates on everything that you want an episode of Lost to, which is that you're really intrigued by the relationships. And the whole idea of Charlie and Claire's relationship completely blowing up, I think, is, you know, coming across really well right now. So I'm excited about that.
Please, Charlie. Just for now, give me some space, okay?
Space.
I'm proud of it. I feel like visually it captured Charlie's state of mind, his fragile state of mind. It successfully realized the script, but ultimately I think I'm most satisfied that all our characters take a particular journey, and that Charlie's journey of attempting to do something good and having it blow up in his face was ultimately very moving and I think satisfying for the audience in terms of them feeling like they were along Charlie's journey and not distanced from it.